Guys, this is Brian with River City Outdoors 85. Working on loading the truck up for a catfishing trip that my girlfriend and I are doing with our kids tonight. And I thought I'd go over with you guys some stuff about, essential equipment for catfishing. Since we've, been talking about catfishing equipment, I've dropped videos about reels and line and rods and tackle and rigs and knots and all that stuff. So I thought I'd go over with you guys, some essential equipment for catfishing. We're going to start with tackle storage. As I've described before, catfishing is, pretty simple. You don't have to have a whole lot of tackle or lug around great big tackle boxes or anything like that to run pretty efficiently when it comes to packing for catfishing. You can go, with standard style tackle box like this. As you see, this is my catfish box. This is all dedicated specifically to catfishing. I've got a variety of hooks and bait rigs and so forth, and swivels, hooks, and floats for Santee rigs, and dip bait rigs and all sorts of things, braid scissors, and I've got a little box in the bottom there that's got an assortment of sinkers in it. This is my box that I typically take if I'm going to be bank fishing or taking a trip out of town or something like that. So I've got plenty of supplies, but you don't even have to have a box this size. This isn't a terribly big box, by the way. But you don't have to have a box this size. This right here, something like this, would work perfectly. This is actually my kayak catfishing box. I'll crack it open so you guys can kind of see what's in here. As you can see, it's got big blue rubber seal in the lid to keep it waterproof. So you can see I've got just an assortment of swivels and beads and some different style hooks, and some stink bait rigs in case I decide I want to fish some dip bait or something while I'm kayak fishing. These are some, I just rolled them up so they fit in there a little tighter. These are 3/0 pre-snelled eagle claw bait holder hooks for like night crawlers and small pieces of cut bait. And then of course, assortment of sinkers. I don't, do any kayak catfishing in real rough, heavy current rivers or anything like that, so I don't typically need anything larger than a 4-ounce sinker. So I've got some 1s, some 2s, and some 4s in my kayak box. But maybe an additional length of leader line. You could kind of wrap a length of leader line up and put it in there so you'd have some extra leader line, or of course you could just make your leaders off of your rods, if you're wanting to do it that way too. But I mean, this is a small box. You can pack it up in a small area. Just thought I'd give you guys an example of, and you could go a little smaller on a catfishing box, on a real portable catfishing box. If you wanted something a little smaller yet, you could throw in a backpack. You could go a little smaller. Very essential piece of equipment, as I've described before. A good pair of pliers. These have a lock on them, keep them closed, and you can see they have a cutter built on the side, and so good pair of pliers is a must for any fishing, let alone catfishing. And then if you want to weigh your fish or measure them, you can always take a tape measure along, or scale. I got a couple different scales here. That smaller Berkeley scale goes up to 50 pounds. This Whisker Seeker scale here goes to 110. And if you're going to keep catfish, then there's accessories you need for to keep them alive. Of course, you can always just take a cooler and throw them in a cooler on ice, or of course you can put them back in the water on a stringer like this. This is a heavy duty braided poly stringer. I think both of these are like 25 feet long. I got a couple of those. I just keep them wrapped up compact, a fish basket. It's a fairly good sized fish basket. If if you're catching fish that's, you know, size enough to get into a basket, then of course, you know, a basket. I do, on smaller fish, recommend a steel basket like this, because if you're fishing in a place that's got snapping turtles, the snapping turtles will take your fish, everything but the head, right off your stringer for you. I've had that happen on an occasion or two. And so I always take a steel basket along for smaller fish, just, you know, because of keeping the turtles off my fish. And then, of course, you know, you could do stringers like these that have the metal clips on them. It's got a main line that all these metal clips attach to. These stringers will hold, there's 2 of them here, they'll hold, you know, 10 fish per stringer. You know, so just essential equipment for keeping fish, keeping them alive and fresh, you know, while you're fishing and catching more fish. And then landing net, you know. If you're catching bigger fish, you know, a good size landing net like this is real handy. I like this net a lot. It's got a telescopic handle that extends out, so it's pretty long. And then of course you push the button and it'll telescope back in, and it's a little shorter. This is a great net, you guys, for if you're kayak fishing, because you can go longer or shorter on the handle. This is a really well made net. It's got the like rubber coated netting and stuff. Of course, you know, like any other net, you can change the netting out if it gets wore out. I'm real fond of this net. Rod holders. I've got some of these bigger, heavy duty 3-way whisker seeker rod holders for bank fishing. I really like those. Or of course you can go with something simple. You know, this sticks in the ground, you put the rod handle in it, and it's got just enough flex that it'll allow the rod to flex, and that's, you know, kind of spiral spring section will flex a little bit while the rod's bending, but it'll keep, you know, it'll keep a fish from taking your rod. As far either style of those, you know, there's a bunch of styles of rod holders out there. Any of them styles of rod holders is better than, you know, leaning a rod on a stick, because as I can attest to, I had an event last year where we had one rod leaned on a stick, and the fish, he took the rod off the stick, took the rod in the water, and I barely recovered the rod. The main reason I was able to recover the rod is because I could see the rod moving through the water, creating a wake. So I went in the creek after it and was able to get a hold of the handle, and I immediately lifted the rod up, make sure there was a good hook set, and started reeling it. I did recover the rod and the fish. That was a pretty interesting ordeal. I was soaking wet when it was all done and everything, and my girlfriend got a big laugh out of it. But you know, anything like this is better than leaning the rod on a stick. That's for certain. Especially if you're not, you know, running a bait clicker or live liner or something like that, where the fish can just take the line off the reel. And then lighting. If you're going to night fish, you know, lighting is essential. You can know anything from, like, I've got 2 Coleman North Star lanterns here. These are excellent propane lanterns. They got a wide variety of settings on them, so you can be real conservative on your light and on your fuel. Or of course you can have them, turn them up on really bright, and they'll still run, you know, a good 5 or 6 hours on a full tank of 1 pound tank of fuel, and give you really bright light. And then of course, you know, you have like black lights like these. I showed these off in another video. I got those from Amazon. Those are 20 watt 395 nanometer black lights. They're adjustable. They got a high low setting on them. They got little kickstands on the back and stuff. So if you're wanting to run black lights for fluorescent rods and stuff, you know, that's a lighting option as well. And then of course, you know, you got some people that just go simple and run something as basic as, you know, a good adjustable headlamp. This one's got like 6 different settings on it. So, you know, there's some examples for lighting as well. So, you know, you got your basics covered as far as, you know, your tools and tackle and scales and equipment for keeping fish, you know, a variety of it, and rod holders and lighting, you know, landing nets. About the only other thing, you know, if you're bank fishing, you know, a nice comfy chair like this. I got this one from we've got an academy here in Jeff City. I really liked this one. It's a big comfy chair, and it's camo and stuff. It's got a heavy weight rating on it and a couple cup holders. It's a real spacious chair that's real comfortable to sit in for, you know, a long time on end. So for bank fishing, which is what we're going to be doing tonight, having, you know, some good chairs is a must. And that, you know, pretty much covers what I got for you guys right now. We're doing our trip here in just a little bit tonight. We're going to hit a creek that empties into a larger body of water. We were there last weekend, and it seemed to me like the catfish were still pretty well on the nest. Now, normally catfish spawn right at the beginning of June to right at the beginning of July. So normally, you know, just after 4th of July is when I get back after them. And last year, that was no exception. Well, this year was a little different because, like, Memorial Day weekend, we had some considerably cooler weather and a lot of rain and stuff, and we had some cooler weather up to that point also. And you know, spawn is heavily involved with water temperatures and stuff, so you know, I think that kind of set the spawn back just a little bit. The weekend after Memorial Day weekend, we were catching some channel cats that had eggs. We had caught a few channel cats that had eggs in them when we dressed them out. So I knew the spawn was, you know, directly oncoming. So, you know, we're now a week later. So I'm hoping that, you know, we'll have a much better luck tonight. Have some fish off the nest and hungry. I went out yesterday, caught some bait. I got some shad and I got some bluegill all cut up and bagged up and you know, chilling out in the refrigerator. So we'll have a variety of bait. We're also going to take some Triple S, you know, Sunny's super sticky dip bait with us and try that out, so we can throw a few things at them and see if something sticks to the wall. So you know, we're gonna give it a go tonight. With the kids, we'll probably only be out till like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or so, but we're gonna give it a go. We're gonna set up before dark, and we're gonna be hitting the road here pretty quick like. So I thought while I was loading up, I'd set some things out and kind of go over with you guys, you know, some essential equipment for catfishing. You guys can, you know, have a look at, you know, kind of what I've got going on here, and you know, the different things that I use and so forth. So I'm gonna get off here with you guys for now. I'm hoping to get some good fishing video tonight with you know, the kids and myself and my girlfriend catching some fish. And if we can get some good fishing video footage tonight, then I'll be also, you know, editing that and sharing a good fishing video with you guys. So for now, you guys have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll see you in the next video at River City Outdoors 85 on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you guys.